Hey there guys, and welcome to the FP1 Post Podium Podcast. We're a few days after the first round of the 2020 season, and we've been a few days as well just to kind of mull over all the incidents, mull over all the action, and by God, there was a lot of it last weekend. And today, we're starting a brand new series where me and a special guest get to talk about the race in a little bit more detail. Obviously, you might have seen my instant reaction to it. If you haven't, I'll leave a link down in the description below. But today, I am absolutely privileged to be joined by Hannah from the Purple Sector. Hannah, firstly, how are you? How's your lockdown been?
Right, I'm not too bad. We've had quite an interesting lockdown. I'm over in Wales, so we've got slightly different rules to those in England. But I'm looking forward to getting prepped to go for Masters back in September and just getting everything sorted. And also binge watching a lot of F1 coverage.
Nice, yeah. And obviously, F1 TV has been my best friend, I think, over lockdown. It's kind of mad that we're finally back. 217 days. We wasted. It was worth it. I think I would happily wait 217 days if we got a race like that. Yeah. What was your kind of initial kind of reaction to the Grand Prix when it first ended? I know I was screaming and got told off for being too loud. So.
Oh, my poor parents were sat next to me. I had F1, the Sky Sports F1 channel on pretty much from 9 a.m. Friday. Watched all the F3, all the F2 coverage. I was bad enough screaming during the F2 races. Gets to Lando on the podium, and I full on cried. I just sat there, tears streaming, thinking, good job I didn't film a instant reaction video. I'm trying to live tweet and cover things, and I'm just, every time I send a tweet out, 2 minutes later, another person's off. I sent one, it was just before lunch, Stroll went out, and I sent the tweet and then had to amend it at the bottom. So I was like, look, Stroll's now out. How many times am I going to need to write the word safety car this weekend?
Yeah, but, I think in the end, I just gave up tweeting because I was just so invested in the actual action. I was watching it with a mate who was watching a stream that was about 5 seconds ahead of mine. So every restart, I was like, you know what, I've got to mute him just because it would be, I'm like, shut up, I've not got there yet, But so look at the race. You mentioned Lando. We've got to start talking about Lando. That was one of the races of his life, I think, and that last lap as well. I mean, just before qualifying. Getting that car into, P4, was it? Yeah, and then obviously promoted to P3 with the penalty. It does show that, McLaren have done something this year. And there's still a Renault engine in the back of that car, remember? Imagine that next year when we've got a Merc in there as well. So, kind of, what do you think McLaren's prospects are for the rest of the season now we've seen this incredible performance from them?
I think probably 4th or 5th best team on the grid. I think it's going to be tough between them and the Racing Points for best of the rest. But it also depends what happens with Ferrari's updates. I think if Ferrari's updates either don't work or they don't get there in time, it's going to be McLaren are going to be up there. And I definitely think this race has kind of shut a lot of the Lando haters up. He had very much a reputation of being the driver that didn't take everything too seriously, messed about too much, and then suddenly he's gone out there and shown incredible maturity. And also, I think it's going to be interesting now. He's got a podium, seeing what the inter-team battle is like with Carlos going forward, because now it's kind of 1-1.
Yeah, I think we did, and we saw them on track as well. And it was towards the end, and I was sat at the screen thinking, "Come on, Hamilton's got a penalty. Stop fighting. Just let one of them go." And I think there might have been some team orders in there as well. There's no confirmation on that, but yeah, I think obviously Sainz dropped back. Then Lando pulled that move on Perez was bold. It was Verstappen-esque,
Yeah.
I was sat there thinking, please tell me he's not damaged his front wing. But that last lap, in a McLaren with a Renault engine around a power track like Austria, he takes the fastest lap, goes from, I think it was 5.6 seconds to 4.8 from Hamilton. Hamilton was closing on Bottas as well. I think there's a little bit of confusion with the commentators after the race. Like, is Bottas going to let Hamilton go? Wait, hang on. No, there's two corners left. Yeah, it was all a little bit crazy. I think the commentators forgot what was going on, but yeah, it was great. And hopefully, McLaren, they can keep that momentum going. I think you're right. That fight with Racing Point and maybe Renault were a little bit. Yeah, it's a bit strange for Renault because Austria's never been a great track for them. So when we get to Hungary, I think we'll really see where that car is. But yeah, and Ferrari as well. We got the news out, I think, yesterday that they're rushing their upgrades for the next round rather than Hungary now. That historically has never been a great idea, but we'll have to kind of wait and see. This is a very weird season. And I mean, we've seen, Mercedes upgrades seem to have worked. Renault's big upgrades seem to have got them somewhere. Haas just need to upgrade their brakes, I think. But yeah, moving on from McLaren, the other big talking point, especially after the race, and it's still going on, there's still people arguing about it, is that Hamilton-Albon collision. And yeah, I don't know, how has your opinion changed on that since you saw it live, or?
Mine's gone kind of the opposite way, because for most people they said, oh, it was a racing, like, whether it was a racing incident or not, or whether it was just a repeat of Brazil 2019. I kind of watched it and thought, oh God, Albon, you shouldn't have gone for the move. I initially thought, because on some of the angles, on the wide shots, it didn't look like Albon was that far in front. And then I watched the repeat and realised, actually, Hamilton probably squeezed him off more than he should. And I think now it's a bit of... I feel bad because it is kind of karma for Red Bull for the amount of protests, the amount of things they did that weekend, to then have Max go out, Albon gone out. I think Albon, if he hadn't had that incident with Hamilton, he maybe could have been more patient and waited for the next corner because he'd have been coming up to DRS. But I also think just because Hamilton's a 6-time world champion, is he should have that level of knowledge in the same way Seb does, for example. And Seb gets criticised enough for not being kind of going for moves that he maybe shouldn't. But I'm actually really gutted for Alex Albon. His post-race interview, I have never seen a driver look more despondent.
I mean, I guess there's the caveat that, his car gave up anyway. So even if he got... I guess what's worse, being taken out of a possible race-winning situation, or getting into second, getting to first, and then the car explodes. So I guess he's kind of got that to think back. Well, no matter what happened, I was screwed anyway. But I think for me, my opinion's not really changed. Albon for me was ahead. There are people saying there was more gap on the outside, and I guess one other thing just to mention before I get to my view is, it's very much like the whole Vettel Canada situation where we are judging a driver's actions in literally seconds, and they're driving at 200 miles an hour. Any human, and these guys are superhuman, but still they're gonna, the reaction times they're still fairly normal. They're faster than ours, but with the speed that these cars are going at, what's going to be going through these guys' heads? But for me, there wasn't much space really for Albon to move on the outside. The way I kind of see it was, if Hamilton had continued, he would have collided with Albon. Had he backed out, he wouldn't have hit Albon. He might have caused an accident further back. But for me, I think the decision was, do I definitely clash with Albon, or do I back out and maybe crash with somebody else? And for me, he should have just backed out, and that's why it's kind of like definite incident or maybe an accident, and you're like, well, why go for the definite one? That's the way I see it. Maybe my logic makes no sense there, but we'll wait and see if I get killed in the comments for that one. But for me, that penalty was deserved. I think Red Bull as well, they kind of acted like spoiled brats for the entirety of the weekend. They came in and it was very apparent that their pace and testing was good, but Mercedes have done better, and they've really come up with a 2014-esque car in terms of, it is miles ahead of everybody else. And, it's tricky, and, you've got to kind of just suck it up at the end of the day and keep pushing. But should they have gone against Das? Probably not. Should they have gone against the Hamilton penalty? No, I don't think Hamilton should have got that penalty. And to be fair, I think the race organiser needs to look at that and think, okay, should we maybe add a few more of those yellow flag markers in? Because the marker that Red Bull said he saw was on the other side of the track, on the other side of the gravel trap. And this was the only person seeing that is going to be Bottas. And Bottas is like, well, I know why that's there because I'm the one in the gravel. So, it's... for me, that it was quite harsh. The next one as well, on the right-hand side, close to where Hamilton was green, And Lewis, he's on the qualifying lap at the end of the day. He's not going to be looking across on the other side of the gravel trap. End of Q3, he's going to be fully focused on the track ahead of him. He's probably looking 3 or 4 corners ahead at this point. He's not going to notice that yellow flag whatsoever. So, what are your opinions on that whole qualifying mess?
I think it's quite an interesting one, especially the Hamilton situation. The fact that Red Bull only discovered that he'd actually skipped the yellow flag was looking at the 360 camera through F1 TV.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, looking for that makes them look a bit suspicious, like you're digging for information to catch them out, and it's like, if the stewards had already looked at it and they deemed it, also I said to the stewards, you maybe need to get a bit more information before you make your decisions. I think it's a difficult one. I did like some of the conspiracy theories that came up about whether Bottas had done it a bit deliberately. You do sometimes wonder, because I wouldn't blame Bottas if he did, because I think this year he's got to be claws out. He's got to be ruthless. But I do think at the moment there's insufficient marking for things like this. They know it comes up on the wheel, but if you look at the dust splatter that comes out, you can't always see the wheel. And I think there needs to be kind of a bit of common sense in those situations. If it had been a regular kind of outlap and Hamilton had done that, I'd have said yeah, because his reaction time should be quicker. He should be more aware. But I don't see kind of where the stewards are thinking automatically, let's demote him now, because also they've made the FIA look a bit farcical in that you made one decision and had to go back several hours later to change it. It's like, I'd rather they had taken longer to make the decision in the first place, got all the information, and then made the call, because it's just, to be honest, it's like, it'll be interesting to see if they have a lot more penalties going throughout the season. I've got a feeling a few people will get caught out.
Yeah, I think definitely. And I think the reason that Red Bull went and made that argument was they basically said, well, look what happened with Max in Mexico. Yeah, let's not forget, Max had got away with that, and he was an idiot and said, oh yeah, look at me, I got away with a penalty. To the media, I saw that and pissed myself laughing. I'm not going to lie at the time, but yeah, it was. I guess the only positive I can really see from it is the fact that we did see Hamilton start a bit further back and a Mercedes that was going to be quicker. So we saw some overtaking, and it's a shame we were kind of robbed of that Max Hamilton battle. That would have been very, very exciting. I wonder if Max would have been very aggressive with that, and I wonder if they would. I was kind of looking at thinking these guys could honestly hit each other. Now it wasn't Albon, in which case I'd say, well, yeah, they're definitely going to hit each other. It's Hamilton and Albon on the same piece of track, but. It's a shame that we kind of got rid from that. And I guess it's quite a nice way to move on to these reliability issues that we saw throughout the race. What was it? Both Haas cars, Russell, Verstappen, Albon, Kvyat blew up at the end of it. That was contact with Ocon, I believe. And Raikkonen as well with his wheel decided, I'm going to be faster off this Alfa Romeo than I am going to be on it. So it was kind of mental. And obviously, you got to think. Yes, it's Austria, but it's still the first race of the season, and Austria is one of those car killers, very much like Mexico, in that it's a power track, so it's going to kill the engine, and B, the temperatures are absolutely skyrocketing, and also C, the curbs, which were causing all these issues with gearboxes and Mercedes as well. So, what were your opinions on that? It was kind of I personally thought it was quite nice to go back to Formula 1. We used to see these kind of reliability failures all the time. It did spice up the racing, and we saw some points finishes that we normally wouldn't.
Yeah, I found the times quite interesting, especially the fact that it was a mix of teams across different engine suppliers, for example. I think definitely the one that actually gutted me the most, despite the fact that I love Daniel Ricciardo, I love Alex Albon, was actually Lance Stroll. I'm not his biggest fan, but I wanted to see what he could actually do, because that car, he's got the racing point, is a pink Mercedes. It's a flyer of a car. I actually wanted to see him try and battle a bit more, because he's obviously got such a controversial reputation being a paid driver. I think it's going to be a difficult one for the teams. The fact that they'll have the same engine restrictions, but they don't know how many races they're going to have. The fact that a lot of the teams didn't have spare parts. So I think definitely controversial with Red Bull not giving Alex Albon the new front wing because Max broke his. Things like that. It's going to be a few teams, I reckon, will have some driver squabbles over who gets new parts and things like that. But also, at this rate, it could be ending up as it might not be the fastest driver that wins. It might just be who actually makes it to the end. And it would be nice to see some of the back markers actually getting the TV coverage. Like, I think this is more of Carlos Sainz than I've ever seen.
We saw Sainz, finally.
Like, when he came up on screen, I was thinking, are they okay? They put Carlos Sainz on. Is there nothing else they want to show? Like, not just someone going slow or anything like that. No, got on. And it was also nice, especially with like Williams and things like that, to see them getting up there. And I hope, even though it sounds bad, I actually hope there's a lot more car retirements going forward. It'll be interesting to compare how many retirements there are this weekend coming up to how many there were last weekend, and seeing what changed about the cars, but also whether some cars actually are going to be more susceptible over the year to retirements.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, as you mentioned, with the lack of spare parts, we've got a problem there. So, you mentioned Albon as well. I think it's a matter of time before we see the not bad for the number 2 driver kind of radio message coming from someone. But Racing Point as well. And I made this comparison about a week ago. This is going to be, I think they're the biggest losers out of this weekend. You could say Red Bull, But Racing Point, these are the races that they really need to capitalise. Now, they've obviously copied this Mercedes from last year, and that may look good and they might be quick on the start of it, but you've got to remember that, you know, this Mercedes that they copied is towards the end of its development cycle. They're not going to be able to develop that car much more. It's kind of like you've copied someone's homework, then you got to the exam and you're like, right, okay, I didn't actually learn any of this. So they're going to be on the back foot. It's going to be very difficult to fully understand and fully analyse that car. I think, do they use Mercedes wind tunnel as well? Racing Point, they might do. So that might help them a little bit, but I don't think Mercedes will willingly share data, especially now since they look a little bit quicker. So I think, you know, Racing Point, they need races like this. And obviously Perez, sadly his strategy didn't really work out in the end. Personally, I think he should have pitted on that second safety car and got rid of those mediums. I can see why they went with it. And I'll be honest, when I saw him come out with mediums, I was like, I appreciate, you know, Perez, you're the tyre saving god, but we've got about 50 laps here, lad. You know, have fun with that one. But yeah, I think Racing Point are going to struggle. What do you think Racing Point could do, or what do you think their prospects are going to be like for the rest of the season now?
I'm hopeful for their prospects in terms of, I think if Ferrari continue to struggle, they'll be able to pip them more easily. I think they've got an incredibly strong driver in Sergio Perez, a lot of experience. Lance Stroll needs to obviously kind of show himself a bit more. Also, now that they've got Lawrence Stroll funding the team, it's going to be a lot easier for them to develop. I think they've definitely taken the analogy work smarter, not harder, as kind of their motto for the team for the year, because using that Mercedes car is going to give them an advantage in the run-up. But I could see them kind of slowly dropping off as teams, especially like McLaren, now that kind of out of the financial difficulty, they'll be more focused on the team. With Lando getting the podium, there's going to be a morale boost. They're going to be kind of pushing more towards Racing Point. Red Bull, hopefully, will be pushing it more towards the Mercedes end of things. But I think it'll be an interesting year for the Racing Point, especially with Aston Martin branding coming in soon. They've got to prove themselves this year and kind of show everyone that it's not just... They've always kind of... When they were Force India, they were kind of the god of the independent teams. The fact that they were up there for so long, and you could always count on a Force India to kind of give it to the big teams in one of the races. But they need to be able to capitalise on points. I think it's the one thing that I've noticed with a couple of the drivers is they'll sometimes push and keep pushing to the point where it costs them the points, and in the end, for Force India, you know you're not going to be able to bring it to the big teams every race, take what points you can and run with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree with you on that one as well. So I guess a good way to kind of end things off today would be to look forward into next week. Obviously, at the Styrian Grand Prix, we're at the Austria circuit again. I just want to ask you for a top 3 finish for the race and one bold prediction that might happen.
I'm going to go with my initial prediction for Austria in the first one is Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen for podiums, and pole. I'm going to go Hamilton, I think. I think he's going to have a fire in his belly after this race. He's going to be annoyed at what's happened and thinking, actually, how can I progress and move forward?
So Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, is that 3-2-1 or 1-2-3?
3-2. Oh, Hamilton first.
Okay. That's I can see it. And that's kind of what I would have gone with as well. But for, you know, to switch things up, I'm going to start with a bold prediction. I'm going to say both Mercedes will retire. Going to go with that. You've heard it here first. And I'm therefore going to go Perez third, Albon second, Verstappen first. That's what I'm going to go with a Red Bull 1-2, which is going to make things very, very interesting. We should put Red Bull ahead of Mercedes if both of them had retirements there. So that could be interesting. I mean, if I'm right, you know what? I'm a god. So there we go. I probably won't be. It's a little bit bold, but if both Mercedes retire, we saw issues with them. You know, with going over those curves. You'd like to think that they've kind of got a hold of that now, but I think they're going to be a lot more cautious. And if any driver is going to be not cautious and take advantage of them being cautious, it's going to be someone like Max Verstappen or any of the Red Bull drivers, to be honest, that will just be aggressive. Actually, I was about to say there wasn't any reliability issue with the Red Bull. Then I immediately rethought that and thought, hang on, they're both retired. But yeah, we don't really know. I don't think the Verstappen incident anyway wasn't caused by the curbs. I think he changed something on the steering wheel and it all kind of went to pot. But I don't think we know what went wrong with Albon yet, though his race was kind of going to pot anyway. But That's about it for the Post Podium Podcast today. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and of course subscribe. One thing before we go, Hannah, do you want to talk a little bit about the purple sector and basically what you do over there?
So the purple sector is run by myself and my friend Charlotte. We cover mainly Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3 and Formula E. It's quite nice because we're planning a lot of content on. We also have a blog that we run, so go check that out below. And yeah, kind of have a bit of fun, have a bit of a laugh and chat about our favourite races. We'll also have our own Austria Grand Prix review.
Fab. And all links that will be down in the description below. So do make sure you go check out the Purple Sector, a really good channel as well. If you like more Formula 1 content, then definitely go and give them a watch. But yeah, Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the show again. And yeah, looking forward to next weekend now. Yeah, guys, let me know your predictions for the Styrian Grand Prix next Sunday and who you think will come out on top. But thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.